Hi, everyone. I'm Haley Foster, and on Executive Interviews, I'm uncovering the hidden strategies for real business success. Come with me as I dive into candid conversations with business experts that might just change how you define success. Hello, welcome back to Executive Interviews. My name is Haley, and I am joined today by Bill Price. Bill, we are so excited to have you here.
Thanks, Haley. Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Yes, I just want to take a second and introduce Bill. Bill is incredible. Bill is really known as Amazon's first worldwide VP of customer service. He also is a co-author of 3 books on increasing CX while controlling costs. Currently, Bill is the president at Driva Solutions. Is there anything I'm missing? Is there anything that I didn't include or that you'd want to highlight from your career?
I started off in management consulting, but moved quickly to line management in a startup company that was early on in customer service technology and ended up at MCI for 8 years, running a large business unit at MCI Telecommunications. And then wound up getting a call from a headhunter who was looking for this position at Amazon here in Seattle, where I had been living all along. So that's how I got there. Amazon, I like to say Amazon is now 925 times bigger than when I started. So it was fairly small, and but obviously growing very, very fast back then. So it was an exciting time to be there, and I'm been able over the years to kind of talk about what the Amazon process has been and help other companies do the same thing.
That's incredible. Can you tell me a little bit about your time at Amazon and what exactly your job looked like with them?
Well, I was there shortly after Amazon launched the music and video stores, as we call them, tabs on the original websites. There were books, music, and video, and that's it. And so when I was there, we were launching about one new store, one new tab every month on average, which meant adding a lot of new products and complexity. So if you imagine adding toys, electronics, kitchen products, all sorts of things that the company was launching one after another. We also grew globally very, very fast, added new websites in France, in Japan, in Canada, and therefore we needed to have a lot of support for our customers. But we kept asking ourselves the question that Jeff Bezos originally posited, which is, why do our customers really need to contact us? Let's make things really, really simple for our customers so that things work right. If there's a problem, we'll fix it, and we'll fix it for good. In other words, not just paper it over, which we'll talk about later, and make sure that customers come back because it's a repeat business. And so that's what I put in place. So my team put in place with my help over the years that I was there was a lot of processes and techniques and methods. So when I first got there, what I like to say is that Amazon customer service and customer support had a lot of terrifically motivated people, but they were working by brute force and with their passion. And so what Jeff hired me to do and what I was able to put in place from my previous experience was to keep the passion, but reduce that brute force so that there wouldn't be as much burnout and there would be an opportunity to grow, to expand our support capabilities and skills over time. And that really meant putting in some standard processes, some methodologies, still allowing that passion to shine through. So that's one way to look at what it was like. I mean, the day-to-day was pretty wild with new systems and processes and feedback and all that. But it was that's basically what we were doing.
That's incredible. How were you able to take some of those skills and processes that you learned and implemented with Amazon into some of these new companies you worked with post-Amazon?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of companies that initially approached me when I left the company, I left to form my own company, which didn't get off the ground. And so I did some consulting in the meantime, and that's what I've been doing since. And some of the earlier requests that I got were, well, we're not really in the e-commerce business yet, but we want to be. Or we weren't born like Amazon with a strong founding leader and that type of process, but we want to be. Or companies that said, we're doing pretty well, but we know that we're going to wind up hitting a wall at some point. So find where that wall is and help us to scale it. And so what the Amazon experience enabled me to do, plus what I had done before at MCI and other companies, was to do some diagnoses and some analyses with my team, my consulting partners, to figure out what were some of the challenges, what were some of the things that were going really well that might have hit this wall, and figure out how to scale them, how to get around them, how to improve them. And sometimes it meant blowing things up. For example, what we often see is reports that are just never used by anybody. They've been feverishly put together by a team, put together in some Google Sheet or some other format, maybe on Tableau or some visualization these days, but no one really reads them. And so we sit down and go with an executive and say, well, what's really important to you? And they say, well, here's what's important, and I can't really get it from these reports. So we blow up the reports and come up with a brand new report system that really signals to that executive or those executives what they need to know. Is it customer churn and turnover? Is it negative customer feedback? Is it a matter of looking at the reasons why customers are contacting them? And that's all of what we had put in place at Amazon.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's so important to build off of your career and to take things that you learn and to implement it into new positions. And I love that you were able to start a new business and that you were able to also start your own kind of consulting business as well, where you can help these customers and these people who are trying to grow their e-commerce websites. That is so incredible and such a good way to give back with all of your knowledge. Today, we're talking specifically about finding and eradicating friction. Can you give us just a brief kind of overview on what that is and what that means?
Happy to. So the first book that I wrote, you mentioned that I've co-authored 3 books. The first book came out in 2008, and it was called The Best Service is No Service. And that's actually the expression that I gave to Jeff when he was interviewing me for the position in the first place. And my point was, the best service is really no need for service. Things should work well. They should be clear. And then the third book is about the frictionless organization. How can you build the entire organization so that it roots out friction that interrupts what the customer needs to do and also interrupts what employees need to do? So we define friction. David Jaffe, my co-author, and I define friction as all the examples of problems that interrupt what the customer is trying to accomplish. So, for example, the customers might call up a tech support center and say, well, my TV, my Wi-Fi is not working. I'm not sure what the problem is. I want to watch the Olympics. I want to watch, the convention. I want to watch my whatever it is. And it's not working. And often the answer coming out of a tech support operation is, well, reboot your modem or unplug and replug your TV. So, over there you do that. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. And let's say if it does work, then the customer is pretty happy. And so now they can watch their program. But the problem is there was never a real root cause of why that happened in the first place, because that just tells you it's going to happen again. So then you hear customers say, my Wi-Fi is down again, or my TV is down again. And so that repeat statement of theirs emphasizes that this has not been fixed. And so an answer to reboot is only, again, a temporary measure. So companies that really identify that as a friction point, and all of them should, and that's of course not an online company, that's because the companies well outside of e-commerce have these issues. Those companies that recognize that as friction say, well, let's figure out how to get rid of this in the first place. Is it a matter of the strength of the signal coming into the home? Is it because the modem has been relocated by the customer to a place that's now shielded? It'll always be a problem. Or is it a problem with our modem itself? Do we have a faulty modem or an old modem or one that needs to be replaced? Then you get to the root causes and you start removing the friction at its source. And so that's one example. And I'll give you just one other example, which is customers that call up and say, and this was an Amazon e-commerce one, which is, where's my stuff? I place this order and where's my stuff? And where's my stuff could be an order. It could be a refund. It could be a check that someone's about ready to get. It could be information. Where's the information that I asked for? And so that is already a repeat type issue. In other words, they asked for something or ordered something in the first place, and they had to come back and say, where is it? And so that is interrupting what the customer wanted to do. It is preventing them from getting what they need or what they want. So once again, the superficial answer might be to send out a free replacement or to send out another copy of X, whatever it is. But that doesn't get to the root cause, in which case other customers are going to say, where's my stuff? Where's my stuff? And that's a frustration, an irritation, friction for customers. It's a friction for the employees. They don't want to hear that one of their colleagues in the shipping department or in the billing department or wherever that department is didn't do what they were supposed to do, in which case the customer service team gets the hit again when the customer says, where's my stuff? So TV, Wi-Fi not working, and where's my stuff are two classics that could be handled superficially, but as I've said a couple times here, they need to be really handled much more at the root cause.
Absolutely. I love that. I think it's so important that you really do dig deeper because something that's really
Right.
important is going to be that customer retention and that customer loyalty. I do have a question though. How do you find these issues and these errors that customers are having? Are
Right.
you relying on customers to just email you, or is there a proactive thing that we can be doing?
It is a little bit of both, but it starts with actually listening to what the customers are saying in a different way. So most companies ask their customer service representatives or any frontline employees, could be in a retail shop or it could be in a bank teller, but in a lot of cases, it's a contact center. They ask them to record with a drop-down menu what the customer is saying in what is usually a very long list of what we call customer speak, rather than what the customer is actually saying, like, where's my stuff or my Wi-Fi is not working. And so what we recommend and what we see working really well, which is another Amazon example, is making sure you have a limited number of these reasons or intents, sometimes they're called intents, that are captured by customers or by agents, but increasingly are actually captured by speech or text analytics. Build the analytics engine, use some AI tools, use some LLM capabilities, and be able to figure out throughout the entire conversation what the customer is saying. But start with what the customer said in the beginning. What the customer said in the beginning, it could be the beginning of a chat session. It could be the subject line of an email if companies are still using email. It could be that first utterance when the customer service rep says, "Hey, Haley, how can I help you?" And Haley goes, "Well, I've been waiting for my product to arrive, so where's my stuff?" Well, then you start capturing that early on and then start forming the patterns of why that happens. So it really starts with that identification of the intents in a very simple fashion. Over time now, or increasingly over time now, it's being done through analytics.
That's incredible. Analytics are powerful. I am a big fan of the numbers and of understanding how to best be proactive about really understanding the needs and where the people are and what they're looking for so that you can really have some of those seamless processes.
Yep.
Kind of going along with that, once we find the issue, what's next? How do we fix it? How do we eradicate it and make it better?
We have to measure what the volumes are. We have to measure what the costs associated with them are. And the costs are not just the handling costs. It's what we call the downstream costs, the associated indirect costs. So, for example, if I go back to the TV Wi-Fi, if it really couldn't be fixed by some sort of a reboot or a signal down the line or some other immediate issue, the company may have to send out a technician. It's called a truck roll. And those truck rolls are expensive. And sometimes no fault is found, or sometimes it just takes a lot of time for that technician to fix the problem in your home or your office. So collect the volumes, collect the costs. And then also what we are doing is associating each of those reasons with customer sentiment. So you look at things like customer loyalty or customer satisfaction, repeat contacts, and so forth. Those are usually done on an average across all different issues. But when you break it down by issue or by reason, by intent, such as where's my stuff, you find that the frustrations can be very, very high. So you look at the volumes, the costs, the KPIs, the key performance indicators, including things like satisfaction or loyalty and churn and so forth. And you do that by intent. Now you've got the data, and what you've got to do then is get the data to the right eyes and the right responsible people. So the customer service team, I've always felt, is like a big catcher's mitt in a baseball game. They're designed to kind of catch the stuff and be able to send it to someone to throw it back out to second base or out to the pitcher or wherever it might be, metaphorically. But you have to know who those catchers are, who those receivers are out there. The catcher sends it out to the receivers. And the receivers are, let's say, the head of the billing department, or someone responsible for outbound shipping, or someone who is building the products, actual product design team, because the issues might be traceable back to those other owners, as we call them. And then those owners are the ones that have to figure out how to fix it. Customer service shouldn't really fix it. That's customer service collects it, helps analyze it, helps to satisfy the customer's concern at the time if they can, but get it to those owners quickly and engage those owners to figure out what's going on. And what we've found, which is another Amazon experience, is the best way to engage those owners is to actually shift the costs to the owners. So let's say that you've got someone responsible for outbound shipping in an e-commerce type company, but there's this spate of this large number of contacts about where's my stuff that could be traced to shippers not doing what they're supposed to do. It's getting through the warehouse okay, it's getting on the trucks okay, but the shippers are late. Well, that head of outbound shipping needs to be held accountable in our experience for that problem. And you can do it via report, but the best thing is to actually move those costs, the actual support costs, over to that VP of shipping. And then he or she's got to really start paying attention to it, because that cuts into his or her budget to get all the stuff out. Because what happens is supplemental shipment, a replacement cost, a replacement issue may have to go out, and that's going to cost the company even more money. So volumes, costs, KPIs, meaning the customer satisfaction type indices, and then getting to the owners are really the combination that works. It's kind of a long-winded answer to your question, Haley, but it really is all those different issues have to be chained together. And then you see the solution starting to come in line.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate it. One thing I really like is, like, you talked a little bit about the costs that goes into having to fix these problems. And I mean, the way I see it from your understanding, or from what you've explained to us, is just that it's an investment.
Right.
If you can invest in the first issue and get it
Yes.
fixed and solved,
Yes.
that is going to help you in the long run with getting that customer loyalty. It's going to help you to, like, prevent all of those future problems within the
Correct.
same kind of field.
No, it's exactly the way to think about it. And if you look at it from the company's point of view, the customer service team doesn't want to have to handle these repeat issues. They all know that there are some deep-seated issues, and they know that they are only temporarily in charge of trying to mollify or help the customer feel better, get them to become loyal. They know that the root cause has to be done by someone else. And then in that case, if you find out that one shipper is causing a problem in one of their districts, once you eradicate that, then the volume of contacts comes down and you don't have to really deal with those issues. Now, you asked me the question before, how do you get the inputs? And I said that it's, in response to your question, it's both listening to customers, but there's also this other aspect, which is a lot of customers encounter the same problems that are expressed, but they don't bother to even contact the company with those issues. And there have been some studies that I'm not sure are quite valid, but it is a pretty high ratio of customers who experience the problem but never make the complaint versus those who do complain. And so it's therefore incumbent upon companies to figure out which other customers had the same incidents or the same problems, but they just didn't get a hold of us. Maybe they were okay with the problem. They probably weren't, in which case, if we now reach out to them. And so what we see is, with the reduction of the problems that we just described earlier, you now free up some of your staff to be able to reach out to customers who are similarly situated, similarly had a problem. So if you know that everybody in that particular region was probably delivered products late and only a certain number of customers bothered to contact you, reach out to all the other customers. Surprise them and say, hey, we think we may have a problem about shipping in your area. Did you encounter this as well? And the answer could be no, it was fine. Or it could be yes, but I waited on hold too long, or I was too busy, or I didn't think about calling you. I didn't know how to call you, whatever the answer was. But I'm glad you're here because, yes, my product hasn't arrived either. So that sort of proactive outreach based on, again, analytics is really, really important. And now and you love analytics too, so the idea is to dig into those data fields and figure out who else could have been affected.
I love that. I love the proactivity of it. I think one thing for me, like, I love online shopping. I think it's really convenient when you're busy. And it's really growing in the market just in general. But one thing with that is you do have to have really good customer service who are available, because you don't necessarily have a person in a store that you can just go to.
Right.
And so that's something that, as a consumer, I've always really appreciated, is when they're available. But I just, like, can't imagine the brand loyalty that I would have if they proactively reached out to me and they were like, hey, we saw this, and we just want to make sure that it's, like, smooth sailing on your end. We want to apologize. I just think that that's incredible to really help promote customer retention. Bill, we are coming up a little bit close on time here, but before we go, I would love to hear any final thoughts you have on finding and eradicating friction in a company.
The one recommendation I have, the one final thought maybe to think about here, Haley, is most executives in big or small companies wind up getting further and further away from the customer. And so it's so important for executives, either the CXO level, maybe even director level of bigger companies, but certainly everybody in a smaller company needs to really figure out what's really going on with the customer. And so we would strongly recommend, and have in our books, talk about having the executives or the senior leadership experience what it's like to be a customer. Number one, actually buy their products, wait for the shipments to come. One thing that Jeff Bezos had us do was to move away from when we used to buy products on Amazon. When I was back there, they used to be delivered into the mailroom. And so the mailroom would take them and put them in nice packages, and it would be nice and easy for us to fetch them and bring them home. At one point, he said, no, we should get the same experience that our customers do, so you have to have them shipped to your own homes. And then we got a chance to see what it was really like to go through the anticipation process. Maybe a product came delayed or came damaged, so we all understood that. So number one is getting customers to experience what your customers do. And the other for executives is to have them be able to listen to what the customers are saying. Sit down next to customer service reps. Spend a day, a month out in the field to find out what it's really like to work with customers. And then they'll find out on their own with their experienced eyes what needs to be done.
I love that. That is incredible advice. Do you have any other last career advice just in general from all of your years of experience?
I guess it's the idea of go after it, go at the issues rather than paper them over, rather than look for the simple solutions. Sometimes there are simple solutions, but go right at the problem and go at the problems that really have associated with them customer disloyalty or customer frustration. If you're using Net Promoter Score, for example, would you recommend this to a friend? The scores go from 0 to 10, as you know. We have clients of ours that are zeroing in on the deep detractors, who are the ones that give a 0, 1, or 2. They calculate the overall score and they track that. That's kind of interesting, but they zero in on let's reduce the number and percentage of our deep detractors, because those are the ones that bother to tell us that they're upset, and let's figure out what to do about that. So I would say, as a career advice, go after the problems. You'll wind up learning a heck of a lot, and you'll wind up improving the customer loyalty as a result.
That's incredible. Thank you so
Sure.
much, Bill. Thank you so much for all of the advice, for teaching us all about friction, for sharing some examples from your career. I really appreciate having you on the show, and I know our listeners are going to love this episode.
Enjoyed being with you, Haley. Thanks for your questions, and I hope that there are a few ideas that your listeners can take away, and look forward to seeing them succeed as well.
Absolutely. And for everyone listening, feel free to connect with Bill and I on LinkedIn. We would love to follow along on your journey. And without further ado, thank you again for another amazing episode. Take care, y'all. I hope today's conversation has given you a fresh perspective on success. Join me next time as we continue to uncover the hidden strategies that drive business innovation. Remember, true success might look different than you think. So keep listening, keep learning, and keep redefining your own path to the top.